team, welcome to my detox diary, day one. So I'm going to give you a couple of reasons for why I've decided to do a detox. Now this is a full clinical detox. This isn't a cleanse or a fast or anything like that. It's an actual science-backed clinical detox. So a few reasons why I'm doing it. Starting from, I guess it's kind of a long story, but why not go there? Okay, so I recently turned 30, and this was in the midst of the wonderful COVID-19 lockdown. And so, life changed quite a little bit, habits changed, all sorts of things changed. And it did take a bit of a toll. I didn't really realize at the time, but it did. And the changes were initially welcomed because it was kind of fun. But some bad habits did start to creep in a little bit. Like I did end up drinking a little bit too much wine here and there. Nutrition was reasonable, but I wasn't able to do as much exercise as I was used to and what I enjoyed doing. I did big walks and things like that, but I just didn't have the equipment. And I really need the gym motivation as well. It's just how I work. So it was quite difficult at that particular time. Also, it was quite stressful as well because, and I'm going to use this word that we all love, is unprecedented. I don't do well with unprecedented times. I like to plan and I like to know where I'm going and what I'm doing and all that sort of stuff. And that was completely taken away, and fear sort of crept in a little bit. Not so much for me, but for people that were around me. Like I could just tell that people were scared to go out and do this, and it was such a weird time, wasn't it? So anyway, I have come out of it feeling a little less me than I did before. I feel heavier than I want to be. I feel, and talking about right now, this particular point in time, I feel tired quite often. I feel lethargic. I have a lot of aches and pains in my muscles and joints, and I haven't had this before. So like I put it down to turning 30. I was like, I turned 30, so obviously my body's like, wow, this is us now. So let's just show you what it's all about. But I think it's reversible. I lost some strength and fitness, so I kept hurting myself. I put my neck out and I couldn't see my osteo, which put my spine out, so that put my hips out and my knees out. So every time I ran, I hurt my knees, and I'd tear muscles really easily, and my neck was hurting when I was sleeping, and it was just, there were so many things that were running against me that just didn't make me feel very good. And so that causes a lot of inflammation in my body. And with that too, I did indulge a little bit, during the whole month of May and most of June as well, actually, with not terribly unhealthy foods, but just like nice comfort foods. And that was often accompanied with a really nice wine too, or so. And it was more nights than I would have liked. So it also took me about 3 or 4 weeks maybe to get back into the actual swing of being back at work, because we were all of a sudden shunted out of it and we had to move everything online, and then we get used to being online and that's all cool, and then all of a sudden we're shunted back again and we've got to go back to normal, but it's not normal because there's so many rules. And so going down levels was really difficult, I found, to deal with, because there was this rule and that rule and people didn't really know what to do, and it was just, I don't know, it was just so weird. I just didn't enjoy that. Like, at least in our full lockdown, level 4, it was clear, like we knew what we could do. So anyway, it was a bit of a messy time. And so it took me a while to adjust back into the ways of normality, even though it's still not there anymore. Because when I came back, I realized that people's priorities, although it should be number one, nutrition didn't seem to be quite as important to a lot of people. So I haven't been that busy coming back. People might think about it or talk about it, and people should, because if we've learned anything from this whole thing, it's that our number one priority is our health. That's why we made these sacrifices. This is why we shut down everything. But it might take people some time, like it did for me. So I've had to gear up to do this detox, because it's not going to be that easy, but I know a bit about it, so I'm mentally prepared to do it. So just a little bit of a background, these some of the rules, I suppose, with doing this detox is that there's no alcohol, there's no caffeine, there's no sugar, there's no dairy, there's no gluten. Then I've got to assess all of the things that are around me, my whole environment. So I don't know if you heard that little spray thing go off. I have to turn that off. I've got to reevaluate all of the plastics that are around me and the chemicals I put on my face and on my hair and my skin and all that sort of stuff. Like, I never really, like, I've known about it, but I didn't really know how much of an impact that might actually have in terms of toxicity. So there are some people out there that will disagree with this, because they seem to think that our bodies can detoxify themselves entirely on their own. And while that's mostly true, we are now disadvantaged in this time of life because of all of the industrial pollutants that we have as well. So there's your immediate environment. So think about your chemicals in your kitchen, your cleaning products, your beauty products, and if you're in, like if you could be a painter, or if you're a mechanic, those sorts of things, like all that sort of chemical stuff that's around you all the time, you have to think about. So sorry, talking about your home, there's molds and the chemicals that we were talking about. Your cooking methods even make a difference. Then there's your work, as we're saying. Sorry, so if you're a beautician, or you do nails, or like I said, you're a painter or a sander or plasterer or builder, or what else? There's quite a few chemically exposed types of jobs that you can have. So it's just about thinking about those things. And so the other part of it too is our bodies become very toxic in ourselves, because when we are stressed out or concerned or worried or anxious about certain things, or we're not having our right diet, we're not putting the right stuff into our bodies, then our body tells us, it creates our own toxins as well. There are toxin side effects that come from stress and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of negative factors that are weighing against us for our bodies to be able to detoxify on our own. So while we have our liver to help detoxify, and while we have our gut system to help detoxify as well, yes, they're quite good at it, but they're inundated all the time. So I'm thinking more about giving it a bit of a rest and just allowing it to repair and just let things to naturally flow out. And we can use certain things to enhance those processes. So this week leading up to this, I've purchased a bunch of products that are going to help with that. So it's sort of in our bodies, it will help to bind to some of these fat soluble toxins, make them water soluble, and help to export them out. So as I said, yes, we can manage to do that as human beings, but we are incredibly disadvantaged in a lot of ways. So the second reason why I'm doing this, one for myself, of course, because I just want to flush and I just want to feel good again because of all the symptoms that I told you that I have. But the second reason is it's hopefully going to make me a better practitioner, because how can I put a client onto a detox program if I haven't done it before? How can I put myself in your shoes if I haven't been there? And that involves being toxic as well first, which is what I did. Not to say that I did all this stuff to get toxic. I'm just like thinking I might as well just make an opportunity out of it. So that means that I can develop this program. So I'm using a scientifically created program, which is kind of standard, and I'm going to develop it with my own spin on it, and then have that available as a basic level, and then I can individualize that as well, because we all might have different symptoms. So while we're both toxic, perhaps you have some endocrine problems, so your hormones are all out of whack, and I might have a lot of gastrointestinal issues. So we're the same level of toxicity, but our symptoms are slightly different. So it's really important to have someone guide you through that, to know that you're doing the right thing in the right places. So when I put recipes in place, I know that that's going to enhance the detoxification of the type of detox that you need. Hopefully that doesn't sound too complicated. We can do a real basic one, but the point in what I will do is to guide you through that with nutritional knowledge of how, and physiology and all that stuff, and how that works. So that's the second reason why I'm doing this. And the third one, I suppose it really conveniently coincides with Dry July in New Zealand. So Dry July is a month where you don't drink any alcohol for the entire month. You can do 2 weeks and 3 weeks, but it's actually an organization, and they give money to charity for it. So I'm trying to help raise funds for that as well. And I already do have one donation, so thank you so much, Becca, for that. That was lovely. So I thought I might as well tie it all in together. And while I realise if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, July might not be a very fun time to do a detox, because you're coming into summer, you've had a miserable winter, we've had a miserable year so far in general. I mean, there's been some good stuff, of course, that's come out of this, but it's been weird. So I understand that Dry July doesn't really work everywhere. Like, for example, it's Canada Day and it's like a big party, so why would you want to do that? Anyway, you might, who knows? You know, a detox might be really easy for someone who doesn't like drinking or doesn't drink coffee as well, or what have you. So you don't have to limit it to July just because it's July. You could do so for October or whatever. So anyway, it just coincided with Dry July. I decided that I wanted to do that anyway, and then I thought, okay, well, I'll just develop a whole detox program to complement that, and I want to put myself entirely through it just so that I know what you're working with. Like, I need to ride the waves with you. I need to feel the feels and see how it all comes together and make it good for you. So that is day one of my detox. It is going okay in terms of certain things. There are definitely some things that I've not cut out just yet, but I'm still gearing up towards that, and that will be part of the process as well, because I wouldn't want you guys to be overwhelmed entirely with doing everything at once, because there is a lot to know. So the first week or so would be just learning about it and just knowing where the toxins might be, and just teaching you about plastics and that sort of thing, and just get an idea of where they are in your life and just think about them. So for example, I am very conscious now of all of the boxes that I put my lunch in when I go to work. They are so plasticky, and the one that I thought was really good is actually the type of plastic that's not fantastic for our bodies. So you'll learn about that more later if you keep watching, but I just wanted to document today. I wanted you to see me physically, and hopefully you can see some changes. Like, I could have done this without makeup, but I just did not feel good. So I did have to put something on, threw my hair up into a bun. As you can see, it's a little bit dry. My nails are a little bit dry. I've got breakouts as well. Like, I've kind of covered them semi-okay, but I don't usually get those. So this is like my whole body telling me, like, it's time to just reset. So that's it for day one. I will be starting to introduce the products that I'm going to take and the feelings that I'm going to feel and all that sort of stuff as we go along.